Welcome, everybody, to Hot Takes tonight. I am young Shiro, and this is Skeleton Lipstick.
Skeleton Lipstick, that's me. Hello.
We've got a lovely episode for you tonight. We appreciate your patience as we had to postpone last week. But we are here, and we have Zer0 Rei tonight. Vaporwave, iconic vaporwave visual and musical artist in the scene, friend to many, and regular in the European live performance circuit, at least to my exposure. But we want to welcome everybody here, both new and old. If you like hot takes, be sure and invite your friends and post about it on social media. But yeah, for the next 2 hours, we're going to be getting to know Zer0 Rei. And for anybody who's new to the chat, just a reminder that we at Hot Takes are big fans of amplifying and celebrating each other. We do love controversial takes. We love punching up. Just no punching down. Please don't hurt the feelings of your lesser known kind of up and coming artists. But you can shit talk, the big ones, the big names, all you want. Just a couple of ground rules. We've got mods here in chat. Shout out to Luxury Elite, Roche Corp, Quiz. I think I saw Luxury Noise in here, and appreciate y'all. We got some commands that the Cloud Bot uses. You've got comp if you want to check out the Hot Takes Volume 1 comp. Check out all these commands. You use an exclamation point, by the way. Discord lets you jump in our community Discord, where you can request the Neon Nighters role and follow Lux's Neon Nights radio show, or just spread your own hot takes, make some friends in our community. You can hit follow with the exclamation point if you want to follow our social media, and you can even break that out and hit Skelly or Shiro and follow Skelly or I'd see what we got going on. We also have shirts designed by BFant for the most recent Vapor Aid Live event that was put on by Quiz and Dom. So check those out if you want your own, along with the full Vapor Aid broadcast. If you hit an exclamation point Vapor Aid, you can check out the entire. Whoa, yikes! That's not supposed to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, check that out, and then we're going to start the night off with some recommendations by Skeleton Lipstick, tastemaker extraordinaire.
Hello. All right, so the first thing I want to recommend is a little album, a new album. Well, it's new, yeah, last year's album, because it's 2025 now, by an artist that I think many people agree you can't go really wrong with these days, which is Late Arcane. The album is Prestige.
Oh, I love Late Arcane.
Did you listen to the new album? Yeah,
I have not yet.
Sometimes I'll go check it out. It's so fun.
Oh, I'm sure it's amazing.
Well, yeah, this one really leans into a lot of the neon 80s vibes too. Not that pretty much all the albums do that, but this one really kind of pushes deep into that territory. This is the sort of album that you make after you've probably done some live performances, and you're starting to get a feel for what people respond to and what it is like to perform live. So you start writing songs that kind of coordinate along with that a little bit better. And this is a really fun one because Late Arcane is really great at doing stuff that's a little bit more. Like he can do the late night lo-fi as well as he can do the really fast vapory funk chops.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
This one is a very fun one. It's Prestige. I'm gonna recommend the song High Wire from it, but I think the whole album is fun. And we've all, I think most of us probably have now seen at least you've seen him one time in one of the live streams. And,
pretty amazing to watch.
He really puts himself on full display with his abilities, and in real time you get to see how fast he's moving his samples around and playing them like any other kind of instrument, any other kind of traditional percussion instrument. It's crazy.
It's fucking phenomenal.
I think he's one of the best artists out there, and I don't even think that's not even a controversial take whatsoever. I think I'm
cold take.
Very far from not alone in that. The next artist I want to recommend is one who I just came across recently, who was a witch house artist in Seattle called Gloomish Throne, and they just really kind of came across their music recently just by talking to them on Twitter randomly, and this album, Gloomish Throne, the album is called, the EP is called Mirage, but he's got about 3 EPs out. But Mirage, I think, is the most recent one, and that is a very cool album with some very competently produced witch house music. So I really think that if that's what you're looking for, if you're trying to find something in that world, because I think it's making a bit of a comeback these days, I would say
Most
start
definitely.
here. It really is, honestly, in my opinion. Particularly if you live in Eastern Europe, it's huge out
Oh
there.
yeah,
Like,
it's
you
all the
see
stuff
those.
Yovozal has going on is just it's
I
like it
watch
never
all of his
died.
stories. I watch all of his stories, of course, obviously. But everybody moves out there too. Like I like Barnacle Boy
Crazy,
just like
huh?
moved out there. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff out there, and I think it's starting to leave Eastern Europe and come on back over here again too, which is great and right in time for me, considering the music that I'm writing these days.
Yep,
So
yep, perfect
that's great.
timing.
But check out Mirage by Gloomish Throne, and I guess you can start with the first song, which is Traveler. But the whole 6-song EP is good, and he's got I think he's got 2 other EPs on there as well. And then for my last rec, let's kind of stay in that world for a second. And I've recommended this artist before, and I'm going to recommend them again because they have a final compilation that's been released, a final EP that's been released. It's Of Dream, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've recommended them before and said just go check out their their discography, but they did finally release a final posthumous. I'm a little bit tired. Posthumous. What's the word?
Posthumous. I know it
Posthumous.
after they're dead.
Posthumous album called Millennium, and it's because I didn't. It's such a blessing when this artist who passed on about from suicide. Which reminds me, if you have any problems, please speak out. Don't keep it inside. Reach out to somebody. Don't let yourself slip away, please. And so I thought that we were all out of work by this person, but we discovered a final EP by them called Millennium, and it's only about I think 4 or 5 songs, but they're all great. Start with Certain Degree, which is just a super banger, which I'll definitely be playing at the next Eclipse on the 31st. So yeah, that'll be my other rec.
That's a great collection of recs, man. Honestly, some very, very skilled and consummate artists with a variety of sounds. Nice. Did you already recommend a track from Of Dreams?
I did. I said.
Did I miss it? Oh, my bad.
Yes. No. I'll tell you again. A Certain Degree. Do that one.
Certain degree. I apologize. I do
No,
a lot
no,
of
no, it's
multitasking
okay.
during our broadcasts.
I was talking a lot, and
well, one of my favorite things that you do when you give recommendations is you shout out a track because I'm very short on time.
You recommended that. That's because of you. You recommended it.
Did I? I guess I didn't realize that. I'm very short on time, and I get really not impatient per se, but I'm like, look, you want me to check out this artist?
I think it's a smart suggestion.
Yeah. Tell me what your favorite thing by them is.
And since you told me to, since you recommended I do that, I probably got the idea because you what happened?
You're a real one for that.
Album to you. You know where I got the idea? I probably recommended an album to you, and you said, "What track should I listen to?" And
you're
that's
right.
Probably
that's top 5 young Shiro moments.
That's definitely because I'm like, I think you told me to do this. So I'm like, that's probably why I do it. It's because you kind of told me when I was just giving you a random recommendation.
Speaking of top 5 young Shiro moments, I'd like to talk about unreleased material. Man, there's one thing that I really can't stand, and you know what that is?
What's that?
When an artist plays a set and plays a goddamn unreleased song,
yeah,
can't buy or download or rip that song because it's inevitably the banger of the fucking set. Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, what's the name of that song? The Shakuhachi song. What is that? What's that, whatever. And they'll be like, oh, it's unreleased.
Late Arcane's here.
Motherfucker. Yeah. So if you're an artist and you want to play sets, go play. You play your unreleased material, sure, But you know what you need to do is you need to give me that motherfucking track ID. And I promise I won't leak it. I won't play it for anybody else. I'll just play it for myself. I won't include it in my monthly mix series. I won't even include it in a DJ set unless you allow me to. And if I do, I'll just put unreleased. Motherfucker, if you could just maybe release, and honestly, that's not even my hot take. My hot take, courtesy of Skeleton Lipstick, when we started discussing it, is when you play an unreleased song and you never release it.
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
It's always the banger, Stop It, because Blank Banshee did that. A song on Gaia. I think, isn't their newest album called Gaia, or am I misremembering? The song is called Tracer. They played Tracer in 2017 in LA, and it was like the fucking banger of the night. And I was like, what is this song? And the only way I could ever hear it was in like super like lo-fi like videos. And when he finally dropped it, I was just like, this is amazing. Why'd you have to wait 5 years, 6 years? Why? You know? So, just Isaac things. By all means, excuse me, I'm so sorry. By all means, please play unreleased tracks in your sets, but be prepared to boss up and tell me the name of that song and send it to me. I'll pay you if I need to, or just release it eventually. You know. And that's all I got. You know, we'll see what Zer0 Rei thinks about that. But would you like to introduce our guest tonight, Skelly?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to introduce one of our guests tonight, a longtime favorite artist of mine, honestly. Zer0 Rei is a multi-instrumentalist, multi-disciplined, multi-talented artist who has been a hand in making some very interesting ranging albums that can go anywhere from dungeon synth to plunderphonics to like dark vaporwave to even a bit of like doomish metal tones as well. Also a phenomenal digital artist who's done album cover art for so many different artists. Runs the record label Rei Records as well, where they release all kinds of interesting collaborations and albums. They're a multi-talented person that I'm very excited to talk to. Why don't we bring them on? They're all joining us here from Belgium. You know, your artist's favorite artist.
And they got a really cool helmet.
Favorite artist, Zer0 Rei.
Guess it's probably a good idea to go ahead and ask you to unmute yourself, Zer0. And we got you on camera now. Hello. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Welcome to Hot Takes. What do you think about what I had to say about unreleased material? Do you do that?
I'm pretty bad for that, especially lately. I think I just mentioned in chat, like, I played Cassette Swap. I think that's been, like, that was over a year ago. Half of those tracks dropped, like, 3 months ago. The other half still hasn't dropped in any, like, purchasable way. Because I made tracks specifically for that using, like, some... I think I made IDM out of some deep cut Desert Sands tracks. And, yeah. I think that's only on some mixtapes that I made for the event that were all unique and all sold out. So
okay,
I'm
that's
a bad
different
boy when it comes to that.
All right, that's fair. Okay, no hate from me, but nonetheless, I know you're going to release that shit eventually, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I think it's a fair take to be annoyed when it's unreleased stuff, but you're also getting, especially with electronic music, you're getting an insight into the process. You're getting a work in progress version that the artist is testing out, that he's working on. So I think it's valuable, but I think it's especially valuable that that kind of stuff gets archived. I mean, look at the Aphex Twin drop he did the other day, which was just 3 hours straight of cuts from his live sets that he liked. So including like different versions of the same track.
And you know what? So. Honestly, you could end up being like Mesh and releasing a giant hard drive of material if you don't just release those unreleased tracks. Man, you got to let it out a little at a time, or you're going to have like a 500 track album called Seagate something or other.
I think the tough thing sometimes that happens is that you make these songs and then you make an album and it doesn't fit the album, and then you're like, well, where do I put this song? I'm like, thematically, is this going to make sense? It's never fun. I don't think it's ever particularly fun to just release maybe it is for some people. It's never for me, the idea of releasing just a bunch of tracks that are disparate from different places. And it never feels fun to release stuff that doesn't feel exactly like, oh, well, it goes together like a theme.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just
That's
doesn't
fair.
feel like, so sometimes you hold off and say, well, maybe I'll write more songs like this eventually. Like, well, maybe this will fit eventually. And a lot of times it does, you know what I mean? But sometimes that takes years.
As a reminder to the people in chat, please hold all questions to the top of the hour. We like to give this first hour to the doctor so we can get to know our talent.
There's one song on my new album. Like, most of my new album was clearly written during a specific time in my life. There's one song that was written years and years and years ago that I had been holding on to for a while, and then that got added. But it didn't fit until that album.
Yeah, sometimes need to wait until the stars align and it all makes sense.
Well, Skelly, what do you got for us? Let's get to know our guest.
Are we good?
You're the king of the first hour. Let's do it.
Are we good? Can I start asking questions?
Dude, and I won't stop you until I have to.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, let's kind of just take it back a little bit for a second here. Now, you are a person with lots of influences who's worked with many different sonic palettes and many different visual and many different visuals mediums as well. But where does this kind of start? What music were you listening to as a kid? Like, what kind of got you into pursuing art in the first place? What kind of was the first thing that started clicking with you?
It all grew pretty organically, but I think my musical awareness was very limited until like my rebellious years as a teen. And I had a somewhat atypical like slide into weird music, I guess.
Yeah.
Most people
Hell yeah.
start out with like the harder rock stuff and start out with
Yes.
Metallica and then grow into black metal. I kind of started with black metal and never really got into Metallica.
I mean,
So
well, from being from Belgium too, it's a little bit more makes a little bit more sense because that would be, part of the part of the your subculture is more direct. It's going to be more directly related to black metal sometimes than it is to like obviously some American metal. Yeah.
totally. I think I got lucky that I grew up in. It's a pretty small city, but I think one of the more influential Belgian alternative metal bands being Amon Ra, and all the bands
Uh,
around that are from
of
Kortrijk.
course.
So,
I was going to ask you
um,
about them too. Actually, I was like, well,
yeah,
that's I was going to bring them up. Yeah, some you already did. So how is it? I imagine like there's a big subculture there. I mean, that's just the form of rebellion. There is that kind of music. So, we did you just have
Nice.
friends who exposed it to you in school, or was it just in like a local record store or anything like that?
slightly the record store, but actually, oddly enough, one of my mom's colleagues was really big into the alternative music scene.
Oh
And he
wow.
That's
basically
awesome.
just dragged me along to the local punk venue, dragged me along to some shows when I was 15. And me and my friends were finding our way into some shows as well, like more the youth circuit in terms of bands. But then he had a little twist onto that, and I saw some harsh noise shows. I saw some doom metal shows. I
Damn.
saw
Oh
people
wow.
getting really fucked up at punk shows, and that kind of got the ball rolling into making noise music myself, going to shows quite religiously for most of my teenage years up into my 20s, and eventually actually taking over management of that punk bar that I went to when I was
No
15.
way.
You took over
Yeah.
management.
Well, yeah, it's a DIY thing. It's entirely a non-profit, but I was the manager for I think
Wow.
going on 12 years as a side gig next to my regular job. So
That's great. So what was it about about the music and the culture of that music that kept drawing you towards it? And made you not only just draw you towards it, but made you want to actively participate and take responsibilities in it. Because that's a crazy
Yeah.
thing. A lot of people
That's
go
respectable.
and for them they spend a holiday with that kind of music. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then they grow from it and then they kind of grow out of it. But then there's some people who get into it and it becomes a integral keystone part of their identity. How did you find yourself? How did you find that happening?
I think it gave an entirely alternative look on life where I think this was the first time in my life where I was surrounded by people that could like at least tell me that I was the only person out of my class from high school that did not go on to university. Like
Oh
not
Oh,
even
wow.
college, but like
really?
proper university. Like I was the odd one out for only going to college, and I didn't even finish that. And these
Really?
were regular hardworking people. And the fun
Yeah.
thing was with the punk venue that you would have a carpenter, lawyer, bartender. Like the jobs would be very different, and people would be from all walks of life, but united by the music as it goes. And it
I love
just
that.
opened up a world or an existence or a future for me that wasn't there before because like I said it's a 70,000 people town city technically, but it's small, it feels very provincial, and I needed that perspective. And yeah, of course, like hosting bands, running sounds, it is very thankful, it is a lot of fun, there's a lot of free booze, like what's not there to like.
True.
No, it is really interesting. It's like almost entering into it's entering into a different dimension that's just right there underneath the surface, and in all of a sudden, kind of finding like a bit of a home, and finding that other people from different walks of life have found that to be a home as well. Like I've had similar experiences in the punk hardcore scenes in my cities and in my areas, where it'd be like, oh wow, this is right here the whole time, and also I can contribute to it. You know what I mean? Like I can do something here instead of just kind of I can consume it, which I love doing. I want to consume the culture as well, but I can also add something to it too. You know what I mean? That's always a very interesting thing. And it's also, I imagine, a very empowering thing too. You know what I mean? Like, I guess when you feel different, you don't feel very powerful, but then you go here like, oh, well, I can build so much too.
Oh, totally. I think it's one of the things I'm still like. I did not exactly end on good terms with the venue, but I think
Oh, that's
in a
unfortunate.
place that has
It's okay,
so
it
much
happens.
like
Yeah.
drugs and
Yeah.
booze running through it, things can get nasty.
Not
things
all
do
good
get
things
nasty.
last forever.
I
Doesn't mean they
have
weren't
Oh,
good.
totally.
so many poor
But-
experiences with things that were very beautiful at one point, and then
Mhm.
sometimes things happen. This is just part of life, though. You know what I mean? It is part of the process sometimes.
Totally, but I can say like I think we did it for 12 years, running about 10 shows a month. So I did over 1,000 shows. I put 2,000 bands on
Wow.
that stage.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
hosted a couple
Zer0.
hundred at my place in the spare room in our small apartment.
I bet you got some
I'm not gonna
amazing
say-
I think you
stories.
put your time in. All right, that's enough. You put your
Yeah,
time
holy
in.
shit. I
You
really
only
respect
can
you
say
too for
did not
taking those
contribute. You'd be
leadership
like, all right,
roles
man,
too.
12 years, someone else can please take over at this point. I understand that. I would never last 12 years. That's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to take that on. I
I
would
wouldn't
be
be able
so
to do it.
afraid
I'd
of
be like-
failure.
Well,
Respect to you
it's
guys
so-
for always, kind of taking that on your shoulders. I'd rather
I
just
got
be the
super lucky
grunt
because
guy that
I
helps
was
in the
able
background.
I was able to do it with my wife, and we were able to tailor our jobs kind of to make it possible. And yeah, we made a good team, and it made our
wife is
relationship where what
Your wife is interested in this as well.
my wife was doing. We were a 2-man team running the venue for most of those.
Oh,
years.
that's badass. Shout out Zero's wife.
Wow. Shout out Zero's wife.
Yeah, Claudia. I think most people who've been close to Ray know she does most of the graphic design work for Ray Records. She does most of the social
That
media.
was what I was going to ask you,
and-
if she helped you with that. That's so fucking cool. Shout out Claudia.
Yeah, shout out Claudia. Can I ask you what the first kind of music you started making was?
Harsh noise, really. So
Nice.
I got a bass guitar. I tried to learn bass guitar. I had a lot more fun fucking around with the pedals. So that's what I was doing, and some ambient harsh noise, into even some harsh noise wall stuff. I think I did that for my first 3 or 4 years of making music.
See. Oh, wow.
Well, you really
so
did start with the weird stuff.
You started
Yeah.
right with the harsh noise.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So then you start with the harsh noise. Did you were you releasing on your was it self-release then, or were you working with other labels around Belgium, or how did that go about?
Belgium didn't really have that much of a scene going on for harsh noise around that time, so I self-released some CDRs. I tried to make a label locally with a close friend of mine, and we did 5 releases, of which I still have most of the stock lying next to me somewhere.
Damn.
And it was mainly an online thing, noise guides, where actually a lot of the people that are now in vaporwave used to reside, because there was very much a pipeline from harsh noise experimental stuff to vaporwave. So
You definitely want to
Makes
get to
sense.
that at some point.
Yeah.
I want to get to that. I'm trying to get to that eventually. I do want to know what that pipeline looks like and how it came about. And but I do want to ask a few more questions about your early stuff. Okay, so you started working with doing the harsh noise. Let me ask you a few questions though about the shows you set up. Was there any particularly memorable one that you put together that was very difficult, or very, very surprisingly successful, or surprisingly I can't believe we pulled this off, heroic to do? Was there any show that stands out that you set up in the 12 years that you worked where you're like, that was a crazy one?
the thing is with the venue I ran, which is the Pits in my hometown of Kortrijk, it's a very small venue. The bar area, which includes the stage and the bar, is about the size of a parking spot. And
Wow.
we would
Wow.
regularly pile
Wow.
upwards, over 100 people in that space. So,
Unreal.
So it can get very hectic very quickly. And yeah, trying to remember what the highlights were, but it's a bit of a blur.
Sure.
Meth Drinker is one of my favorite bands when it comes to sludge metal. Was able to put them on twice from New Zealand. I think they're defunct now. We were able to do Those Poor Bastards, if you're into your gothic rock country kind of stuff. So that was really cool. But I'm hesitant to name too many names because I'm certainly misremembering a lot of stuff. So,
What do you think was the most difficult thing about running that venue?
having a motivated, dependable team of volunteers is quite difficult, as you can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Mainly, the biggest issue we faced was we had to build up a lot of trust again from the community, from the city, because we were government funded partially.
I see.
So that was
Oh,
a
wow.
fun challenge.
Yeah.
But
Just European things. I don't feel like they do that shit
yeah,
here.
Just European things, partially. Yeah, it's just European
I mean,
I
things.
we
could
were
be wrong.
technically a youth bar, so that's a bar that's mainly aiming at kids 16
Oh
to
no. So
25.
let me tell you, when we used to set up hardcore shows in when I was younger, like in my teenage years, the way that we went about doing it and getting it funded was that we all joined and formed a non-denominational youth group. So it was a non-religious youth group, and so the
You're
only like
shitting
unifying
me.
factor was everybody was like drug free, which just means everybody was straight edge, right? So
Fuck
like,
yeah.
but we just call it drug free, but it was just being straight edge, right? It was hardcore. So like it was called it was called Pride, and that was a youth group, and it was funded by the city, and we just used the events we would throw would be we would take the money that was given to us and we would rent out VFW halls or small halls, and that's where we would throw the shows, and that would be the events for the youth group. So like that also, like in one hand we're like balancing hardcore shows, and on the other hand we're just talking to the sponsors, the city sponsors we have. It's like, this is like a youth group. It's promoting like like after school activities that are.
Unreal.
It's a non-denominational, it's a
That's
non-religious
great.
youth group. You know what I mean? So I remember like that. Yeah, I have a little bit of idea what you're talking about. Trying to like sell it one way, and then it's also another thing too at the same time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. It's about you make do. You need to find the support where it's available, and that sometimes means you have to give some things just a little twist. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a little twist. All right, so okay, so now you've been doing this for a little while. How about the art? How long have you been into visual arts for? Because now I understand a little bit about your background in the music. What about the visual arts?
Honestly, I DIY'd a lot of stuff. Like I did layouts for the cassette label back in the day. Like I made my own designs for my old noise projects.
Yeah.
But it was very basic, cutting some stencils, doing some basic pirated Photoshop work. But then really, like the 3D stuff was just, I saw some really cool covers, just like the ones everyone knows, Bryce from like Oasis, and then some stuff from Tim Six. And
Right.
basically, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, it looks like a video game. But
You're compelled to learn it.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd. I don't recognize this video game. What is this from? So I asked. I was in a very lucky situation of having a direct line to Cat System Corp, and he told me it's Bryce. So
Hard as fuck.
looked
Nice.
up Bryce, bought Bryce, told myself, I did the same thing when I was starting Vaporwave Music. Let's just do a design a day. Like I did a track a day back in the day. Let's just knock something out.
I understand.
And
It's a
now
good work
suddenly we're
ethic.
5 years later. So.
Well, that's a good way of putting it too. All right, so I have a question. Are you what instruments do you play? Do you think you play like professionally? Then you play a lot of it stuff. Do you play piano, guitar? Do you play these things professionally?
No. I
just
am
taught yourself
entirely
everything.
self-taught. I
Yeah.
don't read notes. I can't
No, I
play
don't
any
either, man.
instruments. So yeah.
So you don't know like any like actually like notes or chords or really too much.
No, I've been learning a little bit since I'm doing more tracker-based
Sorry, I don't.
stuff. So I need to know what notes to add to make something sound better now.
I've
Because
never
yeah.
known that either. Like I know how to play guitar, but like I never learned how to play piano. The way I would write my music, and I write stuff with like pop structures and shit and stuff occasionally. And I just like this the white black. Okay, that's one, and I'll like
Nice.
record that. It's two. And I'll come like, okay, wait, we can come up with seven. And I could probably structure 7 of these combinations of blacks and white keys, and then if I can come up with 7 that sound good together, I could probably make a song around that. So yeah, no, I've never like learned it either. But you don't know any scales or anything.
I think that's one of the strong points of vaporwave and experimental music is you can really choose your own focus, and if that's going really ham and technical on the reverb and the sound design, then that also makes you an interesting artist. Where that wouldn't fly in a more classical setting.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
makes
that
lot
is a
of
very
sense.
good point. It's more about like sound fonts and synth palettes. not necessarily more, but like you have that added aspect to it, you know.
And so it was more very important to learn how to make sounds and to write a song than to master an instrument, at least for me. I don't know. But okay, let's talk about the vaporwave to harsh noise pipeline.
Let's do it.
How did you get involved in vaporwave?
I think for me, I was aware of the vaporwave thing, meme scene going on somewhere on the internet for ages, but I'm really weird with stuff that I'll probably like, where I just put off properly checking it out forever.
I do that too.
And
I've got so many things like that.
And for vaporwave, basically we had just bought this house where I am now 5 years ago when the Zer0 Rei project started, and all of
5
my
years
stuff
ago?
was in
That's when you
storage.
started?
2019.
You've been a homeowner
yeah,
for 5 years?
I know, Europe, man.
I'm just messing with you. I'm happy for you.
Wow.
Anyways,
Wait, so you've only been around since 2019. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I
Makes
was
sense.
the third wave back when we still counted waves of vaporwave.
Actually, we still did that.
Yeah.
yeah, really, what wave is that?
So basically, harsh noise.
You go. I'm sorry. You said.
Yeah. No,
No,
just
no,
harsh
I
noise is
remember-
like super gear based. So the fact that we had just bought the house is relevant in this case.
Oh yeah, because then you can make
Oh,
fucking
so you
loud ass
have
noises
floor
without
gear.
sharing a wall, ceiling, or floor with someone.
No,
Eventually, yeah, but mainly all of my gear was in storage because we were living out of boxes for like
Yep.
a year plus. So I
Yeah.
find myself in a new house that was mostly empty with none of my gear. So I decided, let's try this electronic music thing with none of my pedals, just Ableton, and let's check out this vaporwave thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny. It's like the circumstance was finally correct to do so. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's like a thing. Like I do photography these days, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but it wasn't until I had a house. Because like I never wanted to just do street photography. I wanted a studio to set up to create mixed media and have lights, and I wanted to make things. I wanted to orchestrate scenes, and I wasn't going to be able to do that, but didn't have the space to do it or the money to do it. And then I bought a house, and then it was a room, and I'm like, well, now I have a room, I can make a studio. Now I'll get into photography.
What's
So, like,
next?
yeah,
Model
like, sometimes
trains?
circumstances like is what kind of what can gear you towards whatever your next move as an artist is.
Just
Really,
joking.
and like actually not even circumstance, habitat really, like the habitat
Oh, yeah.
that you have is really what can gear what can direct your music and where you can and can't do, where you can and can't get yourself involved in or explore. So I totally understand what you're saying. But so you started setting up your synths, and then you started working. Was that is it always been the Zero Trash Wave? I mean, no, it's Zero right now, but is that the original title for the work you started making right away as vaporwave artist, or did you have or were you using this name prior for a while?
No, I think it was under Zer0 Rei. I think I played around with the visual stylings of it a little bit at the start, but it became the version with the kanji that most people know pretty
Well, that's
quickly.
my
And
first
the
introduction
helmet.
to you. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and the helmet, of course.
my first introduction to you was I think is at Pad's block party. I think that's what it was. It was Pad Chang's block party, and you did a performance wearing the helmet. I think and with the sky in the background, and I was immediately hooked on you at that point. I was immediately hooked on the dramatics of this artist and the contemplative nature of this artist, and the that was like that was my favorite set of the whole night. And I remember that was how I first heard you. I was like, oh, what is this? And then I got that album afterwards, and then I was just like, oh, I really like the way this person approaches art and music. Like this is really cool stuff. And then you go on so many different types of tangents. You've made so many different types of albums since then. You've seemed like someone who has a lot of ideas, and you need to explore them all, but only when the time is right to explore them. You know what I mean? You can't force it either, it seems like.
Totally. The visual stuff is a lot more structured because that's more of a job-like thing, but the music I try to keep it fun. Like I don't do sound design or soundtrack stuff on demand either. Like I've done sound installation stuff, but the music needs to be fun for me. And that's also been a bit of a journey to find out, especially like playing live, what is the kind of set I find fun to play? What is the kind of gear that's fun for me to be on stage with? So yeah, totally.
What kind of gear do you find is fun to be on stage with lately?
Lately, I bought a Dirty Wave M8, so one of the handheld trackers. I think about 3 years ago now, and I have been it's been my companion ever since. Pretty much inseparable from it. I think it's a lot of fun to play with, and that combined with like something like an SP404 gives you
Yeah.
like some effects to use on the fly. I did like some echo jammy stuff with just random snippets I put on the SP404, and like after doing this for playing live with the vaporwave stuff for like 3 or 4 years, I'm just now finding out how to have fun with it. So that took
It's
a while.
it takes a long time to figure that sort of thing out. Absolutely. Well, particularly, I imagine particularly for you, since you're constantly exploring your sound too. So you might get comfortable with one type of sound, and then be like, well, now I want to try this. And then when you try that, that requires a whole new setup for playing
Oh yeah.
live and a whole new instrumentation. So I imagine that probably contributes a little bit to the how long it takes to particularly get comfortable with something that you like to do live. Is if you're constantly, changing the way it
Yeah.
goes.
There's also like the financials aspect of it. Like, for example, you saw me play probably Black Magic live then as like a set, and that was entirely Ableton triggered off two launch pads. But that was I had to lug a laptop around to be able to do that, and that's
Yeah.
no fun. Like
You don't
that
like so
thing.
you don't like bringing a laptop.
I try to avoid it at all costs.
I am the same way. I don't want to use the laptop. I don't think it fits what I do. I don't think it makes sense for the kind of music I make to have one. And I don't use like for my live setups. Like I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not bringing a laptop anymore. I don't want to have one up there, and I don't want to break it either. Like that's the
Oh yeah.
thing.
Yeah, real
I
shit.
don't want to break it. All my stuff's on there. Like
Oh, yeah, blue screening on stage is an experience. So
on stage. Okay, so you what do you use to make your visuals with? What's your program that you're using these days to make your visuals?
visuals wise, I work almost like entirely religiously in Bryce 3D. So
Really?
I generally don't even retouch my stuff. Like I even try to avoid photoshopping it afterwards. I'm very much a purist around that. In the same way that I don't have
Very
a
cool.
technical music background, I don't have a technical art background. I just really love this piece of software. So I
Yes.
try to really squeeze everything I can out of it.
I try to do as little as possible post-op editing with like if when as well, particularly with like with my I do photography now. I don't like to edit afterwards, particularly because I do 35 millimeter. I'm like I set the light up, I did all the settings on my camera. I don't want to be one of those digital photography people where I spend hours in Lightroom afterwards, tweaking this or tweaking that. Like why did I even bother to shoot with
It kind
35
of defeats the
millimeter if I was
purpose a
gonna
little
do that?
bit. I mean, that's
Why
its
did I
own
even
art
bother to shoot
form,
with 35
but
millimeter if I was going to start editing afterwards? No, that's bullshit. Save that for the digital guys. Yeah. So what? Can I ask you what album? Because since they're so disparate, they're very disparate albums. All your work. Do you have a particular favorite one?
God, they're all like really linked to certain like periods in time, memories, and like I've played most of them live. I think like Black Magic will be forever a really special one for me because we self-released that on vinyl with two of my close friends,
I bought
and we went
two
on tour
copies of
with
that.
that one.
I got two copies of that one. But
So that's a personal favorite. I love the fact that I was able to work out a very strong concept with pretty strong artwork even before my Bryce time through Helvetera, and working closely with Cat System Corp was a dream come true, like even for someone who wasn't in the scene that long at that point. And I'm very happy to be able to say that Cat System Corp is still a pretty close friend of mine. We talk at
he's
least
not
weekly,
super
if
far
not daily. He is now because he's in Finland. So
oh no
that makes it
fucking
a
way.
lot
Okay,
more,
I thought he was in the
a lot more
Netherlands still.
technical to meet up. Yeah.
Damn.
But
You
yeah,
were a
guy.
so those two are big for me.
Got to meet him at Flamingo Fest. He was
physical
delightful.
media. Yeah, you're a big proponent of physical mediums in general. Like you've released a lot of physicals.
Yeah, I think that's also like that punk scene background. Like I have a pretty sizable record collection. I have a pretty huge tape collection by now, just not by
Nice.
vaporwave standards, but I buy a lot of secondhand fun tapes if I come across them. So
What was the first vaporwave artist that you started getting into? Was it Cat System?
That'll have to be a split between the Luxury Elite and Cat System, I think.
Oh, hey now.
Two great
Alright,
choices.
Yeah,
What was
I think Luxury Elite was the one that really clicked for me because like sound design wise, with the found sound, but really like the narrative that's there, but very much
the narrative?
implied.
That's
And
right.
Oh yeah, she does some
Yep,
great
that's the
concept
thing.
album type work.
The narrative, the fact that you can feel the narrative in her music without knowing it being spelled out for you is kind of incredible. So that's interesting. What was it about vaporwave that really appealed to you? And what about the scene of vaporwave that really appealed to you? Because you not only like the music, but you wanted to get pretty involved in the actual like community as well. Obviously, you were playing Pat Chennington's Block Party, and you're not too distant. You're not too far along in your career at that point either. So it's like 2000.
No.
That was quarantine, so that wasn't too long after 2019.
I made a pretty sizable split. I just dumbly like walked into a lot of big stuff at the start.
Dumbly walked in the way. Hey, me too, right, guys?
Yeah, what attracted me was the same reason like I like noise music because of the experimental side, the unexpected side, the visceral side of noise, and I hate noise for how easily it becomes a loudness dick measuring contest or a gear dick measuring contest, and how the most experimental music becomes the most boring and predictable often, and the politics are very bad with a lot of people, a lot of good people, but oh so many bad ones.
Yikes.
And I think that's the reason a lot of the noise people found their way to vaporwave, because it was a new frontier. It was somewhere where it was about actually new sounds and experimentality and pushing boundaries.
Been rewarded.
So.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, all right. So, what was it like setting up that? Wait, how long have you been running the record label now, though?
I think timeline. If you want to understand how I like got that big in the scene, I'm quite loud on Twitter, or at least I used to be, and I also somehow, basically, I picked a fight with the only moderator of r/vaporwave, and he told me, if you know so much better than me, then why don't you moderate? And then I became a moderator of r/vaporwave, and pretty much the only active one for like 4 years.
Oh, I didn't know you were a mod of r/vaporwave. That's wild.
I didn't know that. I had no
Good on
idea.
you.
I tried to forget. I really do.
Wow.
You poor man.
That's a long responsibility. Look at you.
That
that's
place.
Really
that place is a absolute shithole. Like, ask
Damn.
Indy, because he posted about the vaporfunk compilation, and there are like
holy shit,
200 straight up fascist comments.
All
under
the
that
shitheads
post.
came out, and you heard that shit on
yeah.
Hot Takes.
Wow.
That place is cursed. Like, really.
Did you see the eyeliner tweet? Actually, I think it was on Blue Sky.
I
don't think
he was just all the losers on r/vaporwave. I bet Lux could probably make it.
I made so many like tweets in that direction and posts in that direction, and because I could, like, I was the only moderator in r/vaporwave that was actually a working artist or what have you, or like that was actually releasing music. So.
Oh really? Oh, that's. Yeah, you certainly can't help but take on responsibility.
Yeah, man, you really,
So you're running
respect
venues
to
in
you.
the hard
Do you
scene,
sleep?
or you're becoming a moderator on Vaporwave Reddit.
I'm not really precious about my sleep, so yeah, I had a retail job that gave me enough downtime to actually be able to do like shit posting on Twitter and moderating the subreddit like on my boss's time, so that helped.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I see. I got your boss's time. Oh my gosh. What do you like? What is your favorite thing about making music too? What does it do for you? Does it feel like you have a different way to communicate some creative energy that otherwise would just kind of drive you crazy if you didn't get out? To give you a good way to sort of find different worlds that you want to explore. What's it really do for you? You can't help yourself. You have to make music. You have to try different types of music. You ever think, why is that? What's it doing? What's it do for you?
I think there's a lot of information that gets stuck in my brain that like churns and ferments for ages, and then music is one of the ways that kind of stuff gets out. Like it's a healing process. It's a thing that I need to keep my sanity somewhat, I feel.
Your wife seems to be pretty involved in helping you with everything too. She's also
Yeah.
very much so you met her through the scene. Is that what happened?
It's a small city, so I think we originally met because she was screen printing some shirts for me. Because she was working at a screen printing
Nice.
shop back in the day.
Nice.
And then we had some mutual friends.
Both had some art in the
so we ended
background.
up hanging out in bars and me just bumming smokes off her as I did off everyone.
Adorable.
And-
That's a good way to meet people.
Yeah, so yeah, and then we kind of found each other and we've been together for, oh, she's gonna kill me, 14 years, 15 years now at least.
Wow. Congratulations, man. I'm happy for you.
Yeah,
Is there any
it hasn't always been easy. We're two rather especially wired people when it comes to our brains, but we make it work most of the time.
Good on you.
Is there any artists that you really want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
I am deathly insecure when it comes to like my own music creation abilities. So you'll see like all the collabs I've done in the past have been very like not in the moment, very much each doing their stuff separately or me getting source material in from someone else.
Mhm.
I'm starting to get better at that. Like I'm starting to find my footing a little bit, and I need to reassess like even some of my friendships. You know, like who can I actually who do I feel comfortable with asking to collab with now that I wouldn't have been able to 5 years ago, even though I've known that long.
Yeah, I understand.
That's good, man. Respect to you, because I think collabs and remixes are one of my favorite things. I'm extremely excited about the upcoming Equip and FM Skyline collab because I like both of them and I like both of the things that they do. And so, like, hearing people, use their strong points and their unique takes on things and just having that kind of like blended is just a really exciting thing for me. So I don't make music, but shout out collabs and remixes, man.
Oh, totally. So lots of really interesting stuff in the scene has come out of collabs recently. Still need to check out that Desert Sand Days of Blue album that dropped recently, which is
very cool.
Certainly incredible.
Oh yeah, those are both two phenomenal slush wave artists. That's great.
Can I ask you how you approach making music? Is it come from what you like, if you want a new instrument you want to try or a new sound that you want to explore? Like, you've got it's difficult to even understand probably like where the ideas for the music come from and how you start it. Like, how do you approach it? Do you just say, okay, I'm gonna take this sample, or I'm gonna take this instrument, and do you have the narrative for the album in your head already, or how does it usually work?
It used to be like for all of the concept album, which was everything up until
like
last year when I went more, Black Magic, Helvetera, Mortis, like those are all done in one project file in Ableton. Generally, I gather MIDI more than I gather samples. So I'd select some instruments, sound fonts, and then I'd basically steal a bunch of MIDI files somewhere, shove them into Ableton, basically make them unrecognizable, and then rebuild them into something that makes sense.
That's an interesting process. You really.
That's pretty cool.
And then you'll start fucking around with the MIDI itself and moving it around to make it. Wow. Oh, geez, that's.
And then basically, like, I create a large mass of sound, and then it's really a sound design sculptural thing to make it into a coherent album.
Well, you kind of chip away
how
at
that
it.
used to work. Yeah, totally.
That's
so
exciting.
It starts off as this big mass, this big congealing of like all kinds of different inputs from MIDI and sound fonts, and then you start like just kind of chipping it into something else.
And something that feels coherent, that feels like it's in the same space, because that's something I noticed from doing live sound for a small venue for ages, that I'm really like deathly aware of, do all my sounds feel like they're living in the same space?
That's
and trying to have that make sense is something that takes a good amount of time,
That's an interesting concept. The idea of like, are all my sounds living in the same space? That's like a really good question to ask yourself when you're making an album. Everything needs to work together, right? And that's why it's sometimes tough when you do write that one song that is like, well, I don't know what this goes with. And then that's why you end up with that unreleased song that you played live on the live stream, and you don't have any album, you're not sure when to release it because you wrote one song, but it doesn't live in the same space of anything else you're working on right now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. And then there's also like the entire like practical side of getting in touch with labels, getting physical setup,
Oh my
possibly
god.
getting stuck in limbo. I think I'm pretty much 1 for like getting ghosted by the label somewhere through and having to restart somewhere else.
Oh
Oh,
And
yeah.
usually about
sad.
10 refusals first before anyone says yes to an album.
Oh yeah, we all get that. We've all been there. And then like sometimes you even get the refusal. They just stop answering you.
Oh
Like,
Yeah, ghosted,
the typical artist
left
thing
on
is
scene.
that nobody wants to like be rude, and they just end up just never speaking to you again. I'm like, all right.
Also,
Damn.
I've been on the other side of that now, running Ray Records, and
Yeah.
like, I'm a lot more appreciative now about it happening. I'm
Yeah.
not happy about people not contacting you, like, even if it's an annoying email to get, like, why is my tape not out yet? It should have been out 6 months ago. Like,
Oof.
it's not fun to put someone in that place. Like, I've done it, sadly.
Yeah, you
due
know how it
to
feels.
just losing track of the label.
Mm.
But you do answer to that email, and you answer it politely, apologetically, with as much solid information as you can give.
Yeah, it's
So,
tough because
yeah.
artists
That's that
sometimes can't
retail
give up.
background.
Yeah, I guess.
That retail background.
Customer service, man.
Oh wow! All right. Yeah.
Do we
it's
want to
typical.
talk about like hardware at all? Like before we have our
Oh.
a second half, like favorite DAWs. Not to like take
Oh.
over Skelly, but like
No, no.
the
Thank you for
people in
asking that
chat
question.
usually love to hear about favorite
I-
DAWs and hardware.
Yeah. Yeah. His favorite dogs. Well, I remember.
Hey.
What's that? What are we looking at? I can't see. Ooh.
Is
That
that
is
a
my-
giveaway?
Oh,
That is my Dirty Wave M8. This
that's
is
what
my
you
baby.
come out, yeah.
This is what I do everything with. Like, I play DAW-less, mixerless, and this is how I compose generally nowadays. Combined with an SP404, which is usually chained after this one for effects, samples, fill-ins, and then this sends MIDI to. I have a Behringer Model D, a Behringer
Hard.
Solina, and an ARP 2600. So all very
Oh.
much on the budget clone side of things, but that
No,
is
no.
kind of the budget I have, you know.
Oh no, that's fine, man. I'm for live shows now. I'm bringing all boutique, all Rollin boutique shit from now. I got a little synthesizer for that. I'm bringing Rollin boutique stuff. No, it needs to be replaceable if it gets hurt. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Oh no, no,
I
I
had a-
know.
I had a big scare with my M8 the other week where
Ooh,
a friend of mine was working on it. We put the buttons in backwards, so the buttons weren't working, so I thought it was broken. But
Oh, no.
these are still pre-order only. They're made in the US by one guy, so if I had to buy one, it would have been an import thing and a pre-order, which would have taken 3+ months.
Oh.
And then you suddenly realize that I need this one piece of gear to be able to do anything, and I can't just buy a new one if it breaks.
To do anything, yeah.
dude,
No.
and sometimes
I-
the warranty process is labyrinthine and nightmarish.
Labyrinth.
Luxury Noise has been dealing with that a little bit. Not to tell his business, but like, damn.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I've been on both sides of that warranty thing, and it's fun for no one. Like in this case, like I mailed the guy who makes them, and he got back to me the next business day with a huge explanation. Like the dude is super kind. But yeah, basically
Nice.
he was willing to look at it, but I would have to ship it from Belgium to the US and then probably pay
Woo.
import and tax on it when it
Oh
came
my
back.
God.
So that was just if I had gotten it repaired, it would have been half the cost of the unit. So
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, unreal.
That's crazy. Okay, so what DAW do you usually work with?
Ableton. I
that's
Ableton
good.
all the way,
That's
huh?
good.
Nice.
I pirated it way back in the day, like over a decade ago, and
Yeah,
basically, I'm used to the way it works, and
Mhm.
I've got my favorite plugins on there, and it does what it needs to do for me.
Correct. Yeah, same. I totally understand that. Absolutely. Okay. So is there any synthesizer that you would want to get? Any piece of hardware you really want still?
Wow, that's always dangerous. Like physical
Dangerous.
synthesizers
I like that.
are a new thing for me. Like I bought all of these in the past year. Before that,
Oh,
I was a
really?
soft synth only guy. Like I only had pedals, maybe some fun effects, and then some control surfaces, but no
You're
real
shelf
synths.
pedals. This is all very fun and new for you then. Oh, okay.
And I'm looking at some of like the more bigger weird synths. So something like the Lyra or some of the other stuff from Soma or like the Solar 42F, like the really big weird ambient synths. But
Yeah.
the price tag is a
Both
little
you have is
much
pretty
for me.
pretty expensive.
What's the synth that was in the photo that you sent me for the promo? It looked like a modular synth of some kind.
It's the two Behringer ones that are like semi-modular.
I got you. Okay.
So it's the Selena and the Model D, which
got you.
I love having like some buttons to twist and just especially
Right.
like for more like sit down cerebral like ambient live shows. It's a lot more fun to actually have some units to mess around
Oh
with.
yeah, I can only imagine how like fulfilling and just like entrancing of an experience that is, not just for you but the audience as well. I would love to play I don't play music, but I DJ, and I would love to play an ambient set. Love
Oh, yeah.
to.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge. Like I've been also like finding my confidence in that a little bit. Like I do a monthly radio show with community radio, and like
Oh, awesome.
usually I just do a little live set. But like last time, I had the SB404 loaded up with like a bunch of like echo jammed, slushed out like old jungle samples that I'd like looped. So it was just
Very cool.
like taking bad drugs at the rave kind of bit, like 20 minutes of that on the radio, just jamming off the SB404. That was a lot of fun.
I can only imagine how the listeners enjoyed that. Well, Skelly, we got a little intermission we're going to play, courtesy of Dreaming Diary, if you want to get maybe one more question in before we go to hour 2.
Sure. Let's say, okay, so what is one of the biggest inspirations for you when you make music that is not music related? Is there like is there maybe like film or imagery or books or art or something that you think about that is not music related that inspires you to make music? That, you know, what do you do when you need inspiration, basically, and you're not looking to music for it?
Honestly, like I just generally go for a walk. Like there's
Yeah.
so much sound everywhere. Like I've been able to do a little bit of field recording in the past months as well.
Awesome.
And
Oh, nice.
just I'm a very like analytical person. Like I'm not very muse or like creative when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Insofar like I can give you my train of thought for most of the things I do. So that means that there's just a ton of impressions that just stick in my head and that will just come out when I start writing music. So just a little walk around the neighborhoods, just staring at some cool buildings for a little while, and that gets me going pretty much.
Love it. That's great. Good answer.
I love that as well. We're going to take a quick break, and we've got a little intermission section with 3 favorite albums and a hot take, courtesy of Dreaming Diary, a good friend of the show, formerly known as Digital Sex. So don't go anywhere. Stick around for Dreaming Diary's 3 favorite albums and the hot take. We'll be back in about 2 to 3 minutes.
What up? It's your boy Dreaming Diary, aka Digital Sex, and I want to talk about some of my favorite music on here. Give Up by the Postal Service is one of those albums that I grew up with, and it just fundamentally shaped my tastes so hard. I definitely would not be the same without it, and re-listening to it now, it's like, it's somehow better than I remember it being. It's just perfect, like, synthesizer heavy, cutesy pop music. It's so good. It's so heartfelt and so playful. Velocity Design Comfort by Sweet Trip is one of those albums I found soon after I delved very deep into the shoegaze rabbit hole, and still have not come out of that. Every time I listen to it, there's a new detail that I never noticed before, and I've listened to it like dozens and dozens of times, but every time it's like, oh, this is something I didn't even notice the first time, because it's so dense. There's so many things going on, so layered, but it works so perfectly. Please check it out if you have any interest in shoegaze or even just experimental music in general. It's kind of a perfect album. It shouldn't work as well as it does, but it absolutely kills it. I've cried to it many times. Every time I listen to it, I have to listen to it in full, because it's like this whole experience, and it works the best as that. I always say my favorite song off that album is the entire album. Number 1 favorite album is Spirit Youth by Vid Appreciation Guild. It's such a specific vibe that I've never heard anybody replicate. It's shoegazy, dream pop, indie rock with flourishes of chiptune. It works so well. I think the songwriting is so brilliant. The vocals, the lyrics are so beautiful. It's one of those albums that just feels like it was like custom made for you specifically. Check it out if you like bands like Amanaguchi or even Kaku Twins, or even Prefab Sprout. There's a lot of that in there. It's all this combination of like amazing influences into this one beautiful package. And shout outs to Air Ni by Hakushi Hasagawa. It's jazz fusion, I don't even know what to call it. It's so dense and so layered and so catchy and beautiful. Full Japanese. I don't speak much Japanese at all. I fully understand what the album, like the vibes alone. It's so hard to pick a top 3. It's always in flux for me. And it just goes in the sphere of favorite music. Check it out if you want your brain to melt. My hot take is that future funk is just French house for weebs. Alright, bye!
At some point.
And we are actually back. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, but you know, we were talking about the ironic fact that both Dreaming Diary and Zer0 Rei have a very similar first name. But yeah, Wuso apparently shares it as well. Shout out Wuso. Miss that guy. All right, so we have started the second half. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those picks. I personally did. I feel like Give Up by the Postal Service is a flawless album. And Sweet Trip's album and the Depreciation Guild albums are also close to my heart as well, especially the Depreciation Guild. But yeah, what did you guys think about what Jimmy Dyer's hot take was to paraphrase that future funk is French house but for weebs.
You could say that for a while. I mean, he's not wrong in some degrees. He's being a little silly. He's being a little
silly guy. Nobody's feelings are going to get hurt. We've talked at great length about the difference between like city pop influenced future funk and like the more like 80s R&B or like lower like down tempo kind of lo-fi hip hop future funk, and I definitely kind of skew towards the latter. Some of the really up tempo city pop like stuff is a little much for me.
Like them all.
Yeah, vapor funk. Thank you, Zer0 Rei. I'm definitely more of a vapor funk fan, I guess. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to get to know our guests. So everyone in chat, you can now start loading the chat up with questions for Zer0 Rei for the next hour. And I'm going to start off with a ripper. Zer0, how do you feel about separating art from the artist?
Oh wow, that is a ripper. My general thought there has been for quite a while that there's plenty of good art to go around, so if the artist behind it is an asshole, then I'll just skip it.
Right. Yeah. If it's really, really close to your heart, I certainly don't judge anybody that continues maybe to quietly enjoy, not even quietly, like I would never tell someone they had to do that, but like I'm definitely still... Yeah, you can't unhear the Smiths, you know.
I told you my thoughts on it. You can't be unmoved by the art. If you were moved by it, it's too late. Whatever happens with the artist, you know, you already had the experience with it. It's there. You can't take it away from yourself now. It's too late. You had a deep movement, a deep engagement with a piece of art, and then you come to find out that the artist is an asshole or a terrible person. Too late, Bucko. You already had the experience.
Yep. You can't take it away from yourself. You can't be like, oh no, I never loved that one. No, you did, man. You cried to that one song, and it comforted you in the middle of the night. Now you're gonna try and tell me that you're like, no, I don't listen to that guy anymore. No, man, it's in your psyche now. It's deep inside the fabric of your soul. You once enjoyed a Woody Allen film. You can't
take it away,
enjoy that.
Too late now.
Right.
It's inside you. You'll never be able to unmove yourself.
I'll never forget how moved I was by The Pianist by Roman Polanski.
Yep, you were.
I've got a great story there.
Let's do it.
I've never listened to 2814 because I found out what a fucking douche HKE was, and this is now a no-win situation. Like, why would I listen to the album? If I dislike it, then I've wasted my time, and if I like it, then
it's pretty good.
I'll say,
not gonna find out.
I think the tide is. I don't know. The tide's changing for that gentleman, for David right now. I think he's becoming. He's saving the Saturn food stream and all that stuff.
He might have to come on Hot Takes and just defend himself.
I would love to get David on Hot Takes.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get him.
I was on David's podcast back in the day.
What? Badass.
Podcast. Yeah.
Did you get interviewed by him and Shima?
Too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was interviewed by those two, and it was absolutely insufferable. They are.
Oh my god.
You were on
Yeah.
that because that was like in probably the most insufferable era too. Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how to
go
rank the eras. You know.
We got jokes
We're
tonight.
actually not like that. We're in like a. Wow, that you just walked into that thing. And you were gonna have a really fun.
That was
time.
pretty
They're
good.
gonna
No,
talk about
like-
music, and then they are just like being.
No. I talked shit about him on
was like-
Twitter, and he called me out and told me like, if you're gonna talk shit, come talk shit on the podcast. And I was like, sure.
Oh wow!
Unreal.
What was that
Wow.
like?
The subject of the podcast in question was pizza, PZA. The
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Steve-
asked him to come on the show too.
Yeah, so the guy that has made an entire
Yeah,
career
yeah.
out of stealing other people's music.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the main
You can't
the
keep
main
yourself out of
argument
trouble.
there-
Sure, you're here. You're on that podcast. You're on the vaporwave Reddit. Like, wait,
I don't know.
what?
Zer0
just-
Rei,
like
no
I said,
stranger to controversy.
What you?
I walked into things, man. But yeah, so the point was they were straw manning the hell out of the situation and telling the whole thing, but everything is sampled and nothing is original.
Oh yeah.
So I was making the common
everything
sense
is
argument
sampled.
that's about
Counter-argument.
transformative
There's
use.
no a single original music in it.
And
It's
then
all
what happened when
samples.
you made the count? I gotta go back and I did not hear. I gotta listen
Oh,
to this.
he-
Oh, this is
He wiped-
Shima33. It's all. None of it's original.
What did he say to you? What
I'm
happened
sorry.
next?
They were equating what PZA was doing in terms of theft to playing chords on a guitar.
I
Yeah,
guess
it was
I don't know.
Not exactly a highbrow conversation.
You must have been. That's just like I can't believe that you were on that.
I would
Like,
love
you
to
just
have
can't
that
keep yourself out
conversation.
of- You can't keep yourself out of these situations, man.
I considered it a public
Hilarious.
service to be the voice of reason on there, but I think everyone was
You know
wasting
what?
everyone's
Shout out
time
you,
there.
dog, for stepping up. You stepped up at the club
Hey,
to
man,
put
that's
people
true.
on the
Don't-
stage.
Don't
You
threaten
stepped
Zer0 with like the don't threaten him and be like, no, I'll be there. I'll be on tomorrow.
Yeah,
You-
I'm
ain't
sorry.
scared.
Because literally it was just like you were just like, oh, you know what? Then why don't you become a Reddit? This is like the same
Pretty much,
fucking
yeah.
line of reasoning. You being on David's podcast is the same line of reasoning that led to you being a fucking moderator in Vaporwave
Yeah.
Reddit. Well,
Yeah.
if you think you can do it, then why don't you be
I'm
a
the only
moderator?
artist and
Well,
guest of the
maybe I will.
HKE and Shima33 podcast. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
JK, I've never actually listened to an episode. I've kind of skimmed through them. I'm sure there's redeeming moments. You know.
The funny thing is that they relaunched that podcast about 8 times, then wiped it from the internet each time. So I think it's lost
Oh,
media.
God,
at
I
this
hate it
point.
when they do that.
They're always wiping from the internet. They're always wiping from the internet.
HKE,
Damn
come
it,
on
bro.
my show and tell me why you did that. We have a huge backlog of questions. Otherwise, I would love to continue talking about this.
We'll get to the back. We gotta ask.
Yeah,
we gotta
thanks
do
for the
viewer.
follow, Echograms. MP3 Neptune, what are some inspirations for your visual art, Zer0? Any other artists, musicians, life in general, etc.?
I keep an inspiration folder, but it's a lot of the other artists that are around, a lot of like general vaporwave themes, brutalist architecture, absurdist paintings, abstract stuff.
Lisa Frank.
Nice.
Yeah, of course, you kind of have to. But also, yeah, just generally, sometimes I just come across an image where something about the composition strikes me, and then I just try to recreate that spark that was there, and that gets me into a lot of what my current output is, because I do try to do like daily render posts, so a lot
You are
of the world
prolific
and
as fuck,
everything.
and a lot of the stuff you post is so good. I'm like, how did this fool do this so fast?
Well, it is my job at this point. That's been one of
That's
the
true.
weird things about, rolling into the scene. Like, my full-time job is somewhere between making music and art and Ray Records, and the collectives I run. Like,
I
I'm involved
gotcha.
in 2 local collectives for
Oh
like
my
music and
God.
arts.
And he's got collectives too, bro.
Hey, he's always taking on responsibilities. It's crazy.
Yeah, he ain't scared of nothing.
He ain't scared of nothing.
Zer0, what is your favorite subject that you like to make visually? Shout out DJ Project for the question. Is it landscapes, objects in landscapes, abstract
Interesting one.
stuff?
I think my favorite thing is putting random, either transparent or reflective orbs in places where they should not be.
Yes.
I think
yeah,
if there's a
just
theme, then that's the one,
Very surrealist.
I think the more serious answer would be that I really like pushing that boundary of it being retro CG, of it looking like the old software, but still giving you something to chew on, like good art
Yep.
should.
Agreed. I like it looking like a place that I badly want to go, but also really would not want to, like an alien landscape that's sort of familiar. You know.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Roge Corp, great question, and a regular, courtesy of Roge. Any newer vaporwave artists that you've been fucking with lately?
Oh god, I am notoriously bad with keeping up with the scene, especially since nowadays I'm mainly to the slushwave side of things. So, Aqua Rogue GX has been someone I fuck with heavily, both like in terms of visual art and everything around their projects that they've been doing. Aside from that, I'm pretty much drawing a blank
Aqua
because a lot of
Rogue
my
GX.
listening
Look that one up.
Astrids
gotcha.
that a lot of people probably know from the slushwave scene.
Okay, very cool.
Also does Ego Escapes, I think. But aside from that, I've been mainly musically doing a deep dive on older ambient stuff like the past year and a half, so that's taken up most
Okay.
of my listening. Feel free to send me recommendations, though.
Oh, absolutely, man. Archangel, how did you come up with your name, Zer0 Rei?
I wanted something faceless, nameless, like something that wasn't really a name, that didn't really mean anything. So zero is just the number 0, nothing, and then a 0 for an O because that aesthetically looked good. And then the kanji is just another like less typical way of writing the number 0 again, which is what Rei is, just another 0. So it's zeros all the way down.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Ah, good to know. Okay, zeros. Quiz question. How are you doing today?
It's been a very busy day. I had a lot of meetings today. Like I said, I also run one collective and I'm heavily involved with another. But I had a pretty gnarly end of the year, but the past week has been good for me.
That's good. Good. Glad to hear that, buddy. Mandy Dregs, what did you get for Christmas?
What did I get for Christmas? So I bought myself the new version of the M8 because I realized I need a backup.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Very cool.
My wife bought me a person-sized plush goose. That was a fun
What?
thing
A
to-
person-sized plush goose? Do you have it on you? Can we
didn't
see
that
it?
coming.
Do you have 5 seconds? I can grab it. I think it's
Yeah,
in
go
the other
grab it,
room.
dude.
We have eyes for the plush.
This is
size
hot
goose,
takes.
we
Grab the
certainly
goose.
do. Grab the
Oh,
goose.
look at that! Look at that beautiful Christmas tree. in
Look
the
at that fucking
background.
shirt. That's a really cool shirt.
Oh my God! For those of you that are
Whoa.
tuning in
Whoa.
on podcasting services, it is in fact a human being-sized plush goose.
That is the sort
I
of
gotta hear
thing. That is a great. I love it.
what's
That is
the
definitely
story?
sort of thing you can only have if you have a house.
Yep. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Skelly, don't act like you don't have like a couch with a fucking hand on it.
I have
And a giant
I mean, I'm
ring
not in my
pop.
house right now, but I have a giant, like, yeah, it's 2 hands.
I can't
connected.
wait
It looks
until
like
I
a
can
giant
get
mug.
like
It looks
just
something out of-
weird
It
shit
looks
for
like
my
something out of
house.
Beetlejuice. It's 2 hands, like arms connected like this that are black. It looks like something out of Beetlejuice.
Do you ever make him shake
basically.
hands?
Yeah, of course. What am I crazy? Of course, I make the 2 hands like shake hands, but it's like giant, and like I put it behind my couch.
This fool wakes up every morning and like changes the hands.
It looks like something out of Beetlejuice. I love it.
Beetlejuice.
That's a nice looking
Nice
goose
Lux.
too.
Yeah. What's
I
the
did
story
not know
behind?
It was gonna be that big. That's a big goose.
There's
you.
not that much story behind it. It was a
Also,
gift
She
you're
was
from
just
my
like,
wife
damn.
for
How do you
something
get a
for me
man
to hug,
something
you know?
when he has everything?
It's-
I'll get him a life-size goose.
Oh no, it's
It's
just
very
it's,
huggable, you know.
Oh, definitely. I was like, you can like kind of hug it through the imagery just by looking at it. Yeah, it's great. It's very playful. I love it. How whimsical.
Yeah, it's
That's what I want
adorable.
to say. You don't really need an explanation for whimsy. Whimsy
Right.
just exists.
There you go.
All right, what's the next question?
Next question, Luxury Elite. What made you choose to stray away from the name Zer0 Trash Wave?
I thought it was a bit clunky, and I already like kind of screwed myself over doing the Zer0 Trash Wave like written out for a screen name, and then doing the 0 with the kanji behind it. which confused people because most people just read it as 0, and then there's like 3 zeros in the scene all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's
So many
fancy.
people get me confused
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
other South American 0.
Z.E.R.O.
They
Yeah.
got the zero trash. They think you're also Trash Ghost 2 maybe as well.
Yeah, so I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, I decided to just do the Zer0 Rei thing, which it has always been, but now it's easy to read, easy to Google, easy to find, and it's unique now.
Let me ask you a question. What's it called? Album isn't on streaming services right now.
I used to share my DistroKid account with someone, so I had to pull everything off there, and I've been a little bit slow in uploading it, but it's on my to-do for later this week to get all the pulled albums on, but they'll be on the Zer0 Rei.
I didn't notice that album is off streaming services.
No, I'll be uploading all like the mainline, like everything that hit vinyl will be back on streaming soonish.
Yes. All right, that's good. He doesn't know chords. He doesn't know chords.
I don't know chords. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. The white, the black, and the 2 more blacks.
Oh no, apparently I'm muted. I don't know how long I've been muted, but thank you guys. Okay, no favorite chord. Okay, that's all right. Echograms has another great question. Tell us a little more about the collectives.
I am one of the founding members of Grondleggers, which is ground layers if you translate it literally from Dutch, which is a collective locally that does experimental music performances in public space. So that started out as a yearly thing
like
in a
busking?
pop-up bar that was...
Like busking or like at a venue?
No, not at a venue, but like electronically. We have an entirely mobile PA set that some people might have seen during Slushwave, like we did the Nature Wave Day on that setup. So we have a full PA setup that's battery powered, which we can set up in, I think, under like half an hour roughly. So we do like experimental music, ambient music, weird stuff out and about, usually without a license. We did someone playing like traditional Indian instruments under a bridge while it was raining with cars going overhead.
Wow.
And like we throw out some carpets, and it's all about like experimental music, sit-down concerts, expanding people's tastes locally because most of the people here don't have a connection to experimental music, but also pushing our artists out of their comfort zone. So usually it's collabs or it's one-offs.
Love that.
Cool.
And you have another collective,
and
correct?
then the other collective is Blood's Art Gallery, which translates as Broke Art Gallery, which is I've had my workshop for the past year in a formerly abandoned big union building. And basically we realized that most of that street was abandoned buildings. So we basically set it up with the current owners that we now have the keys to, I think, about 5 or 6 abandoned buildings. And we're transforming those into artist workshop spaces and expo spaces for like music and arts, just to bring a little bit more life into the center of town.
Damn. Wow. That's hardcore, man. Respect to you.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's been a tricky one because it's
I can only
it's a
imagine.
group of artists and making that work. Let me just drop the Instagram for the music collective because the pictures show a little bit of what we do and there's some fun stuff in there.
Thank you for
posting.
I
think the last gig we did with that was the Solstice. That was last week.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's so cool.
We had a spot that was actually on the roof of where we organized Slushwave last year. Basically a penthouse on the roof of the Brutalist Cinema building that has a view 360 degrees around. So we watched the sunrise at 8 in the morning with like breakfast and coffee and a 2-hour ambient experimental gig with everyone just chilling while watching. So we could watch the sunrise with a good soundtrack live.
Oh wow! I bet you make some really wonderful memories doing all of that. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really worthwhile, especially since we're doing it locally. Like I said, it's not the biggest city, and it's a very thankful thing to make cool shit happen here.
Yeah, it's like good for the community. Lux actually has a couple really good questions. Shout out Lux. One of them is a favorite of the podcast, and that's that we'd like you to rank 3 things in terms of importance, and that is album art. Sorry, let me back up. Track titles, album art, and album title. Would you please rank these three things in order of importance?
Yeah, album arts. Just not even as a personal taste, but as like a objective thing. Like people judge what you do based on art so much. Then album title, because a good title makes a big statement about the piece, does a lot for coherence. And then track
That's a good
titles.
point.
Track titles for me have always been not an afterthought, but a way to tell a narrative, but that's not always that like tightly wound with the track in question. It's part of telling the story, but they don't really stand alone for me usually.
Good.
I think that's a coherent answer.
Honestly, I think it's coherent. It makes sense. A lot of people I feel like would agree with you as well. Thank you for that. Another question by Luxury Elite, which is a two-parter question. What is your favorite live show memory during the time you managed the venue? And what is your favorite memory of you playing live?
Okay, favorite live show memory. That's an odd one. I think it was one of the like Oi gigs, if you're familiar with the
Oi?
subgenre.
Oh, like the punk rock
Oi,
movement.
punk?
Yeah, the British punk rock.
Yeah, so it was a French Oi band called Rix, R-I-X-E, which is a huge tip, really great band. So French, like Oi in French, but like really good riffage, really fun tracks.
That's too cool.
And I was running the entrance that night at the venue, and basically about halfway through the opening band, we realized that there were already like twice as many people there than we could fit in the room.
Oh my god.
Man. This is the parking space venue?
Yeah, so we made the executive decision of, you know what, if you want to pay to try and get in here, go ahead.
You
And
club
basically
staged the
shoved-
venue?
So we basically shoved 200 people into the venue. There was
Oh
a
my
picture from the
God.
backstage, and there were like 50 people just at the backstage alone, just hanging out.
Wow.
I love that. Like behind the band?
Yeah, just with the band upstairs,
Oh,
like
that's
on the
awesome.
table where
Oh,
they're supposed
they were
to have
upstairs. I
dinner,
got
you
you.
know. So it was
got
it
you.
was bad, but it was a lot of fun. Like nothing went wrong
Oh,
that
hell
night.
yeah,
but
dude.
It was
That's good.
Oh, that's a great story.
That's good. I bet that's a memorable night for a lot of people.
That's a cool story.
What about you playing live? What's your that was Lux's second part. What's your favorite memory of you playing live?
trying to remember what like the big events have been for me lately playing live, because I've had honestly terrible luck when it comes to live shows. Basically, I've never really been able to play to a full room in any capacity. Like generally,
The
I
curse
just
of
get super
experimental
unlucky.
music.
No, just not even that, but I just tend to get really unlucky with people turning up
Oh, I'm
either
sorry,
early or
man.
late, depending on when I play, and just getting on bad lineups. But favorite memories, we did like for the collective, for the Grondleggers, I played a collab set with a friend of mine in just a little bit of woods outside the city with some really cool mood lighting, where we just fucked it up for 20 minutes doing harsh noise and ambient, and that was really cool. I think aside from that, I did not a typical gig, but I did an audio installation in an old power plant this year, which some people might
that's
have caught
badass.
my Instagram videos. So basically, it was a huge turbine hall with like 4 old electricity turbines, but then we set up all the speakers in the catacombs below, so that was like 10 meters below
Oh, that's
the floor,
so fucking cool.
under the turbines in like the old oily catacombs where they used to work, and we put that full of speakers and then
That
blasted
sounds scary.
a soundscape through that. That was really cool.
Oh, I bet it was really cool. Damn. All right.
It was
well,
a cool assignment too, because it was an industrial heritage open day, and they just wanted me to make a soundscape that invoked the busyness of the power plant in its heyday. So
Oh man, I'd
had a lot
fuck
of
up a
artistic freedom
deconstructed
and
club
fun.
set out there. Love that. I would love to play in a power, like an abandoned foundry, like 80s villain third act type beat.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we've got some more ones, man. People are interested. People are dialed in. Echograms, do you feel that you would survive without any art design? I guess, do you feel like you'd be able to survive if you didn't have the ability to design art?
If I could survive, I'm someone who very much needs a creative outlet, so I think that's very important, and I think As a artist being like visible, I think doing the art gives me a lot more survival chances and a way to stand out, and that's less pressure where my art can speak for itself. So yeah, I kind of need it.
Makes sense. MP3 Neptune had a question I skipped. I apologize to you, MP3 Neptune. They wanted to know what goes into your visual art process.
That really depends if I'm working like for me or for someone else, like what the end goal is. But generally, the way the software works is that you kind of have to start from scratch. You kind of have to create an entire world and then put everything in it and assign it materials, and then put a camera in the place where you want to put the camera and like take your final picture, which then becomes a 2D image that you can share. So it's it like has aspects of photography, of architecture, of world creation. And I try to just let that process play out, I guess, especially for like the pieces that I find to be my stronger ones. And it's really about creating that world and letting it figure out what it needs and become that final image, I guess.
That makes sense. A lot of moving parts to that. Hydroplane into a false reality wants to know, how do you avoid burnout with your visual art output?
I'm not exactly the best judge of that because I burnt out super badly at the end of last year. So
Sorry to hear that.
No, it happens. It was a learning experience. Like I said, like as you've noticed, I do take on a lot of responsibilities. So the collectives with the visual art, and I think for me it's a lot about flexibility. That's why I'm like super happy to be able to be freelance in the way that I am, because I'll do a render a day because I want to, but if I want to skip a day, like no one's gonna yell at me. And if I want to put off a commission for a week or two, I can do that, and that is huge to not have a boss hanging over me and telling me how and when to do things. But that's a double-edged sword as well, because that sometimes means that you work 16-hour days for 2 weeks straight and you don't even realize it because you're kind of having fun. So
interesting.
It gets tricky because the line between what's a job and what's relaxation gets a bit blurred as well. So,
damn, respect to you, man. KJ Valium, Zer0, how do you make your grilled cheese?
How do I make my grilled cheese? I'm a very basic person when it comes to that. I'm very much just a good plasticky American cheese between two slices of
I never thought I would hear that.
brown breads in a grilled cheese machine. You know?
A grilled cheese machine.
Like the little closing toaster one.
Yeah,
you know.
You can grill. Anything can be anything can be a grilled cheese machine, basically.
Like a panini press or a George Foreman grill.
We have a dedicated like.
You have a
grilled cheese.
You have a grilled cheese machine.
Yeah, toasty machine.
Okay.
With mayonnaise and pickles on the side.
Okay, respect.
All right, the pickles. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Yeah. I like it.
On that note, MP3 Neptune asked a completely separate sandwich-related question.
Completely separate sandwich question.
Yes, can you describe...
Another sandwich question coming up?
Another sandwich question. Describe
let's go.
Let's do it. We're talking sandwiches. Can you describe the best sandwich you've ever had? And I want to know if it was worth what you paid for it.
I had a really good bagel with all the trimmings when we were leaving when we did not Electronicon. Like we went to everything except Electronicon last year.
Oh wow.
That one was quite memorable. Because to have like a proper bagel in New York, that was good.
What can I ask why you guys didn't make Electronicon?
Of ethical concerns, a bit overpriced for what it was, and just didn't want to spread ourselves too thin. I thought Summer Slushy and the Tape Swap were a lot more interesting.
That's a very reasonable answer. I appreciate that. Keep the questions coming, you guys. We have had some really good ones for Zer0 Rei. I want to hear some more. And while we wait on some more questions, do you prefer slow or fast music? Loud or quiet music? Maximal or minimal?
Oh, damn.
It's very much in waves for me, but lately I've been on slow minimal or like
slow music. Okay.
Slow, sometimes heavy, often minimal. Like I've become a huge fan of Scorn, Mick Harris from Napalm Death's electronic music output,
Ooh.
and he does the sickest ambient, which is like dark ambient.
He makes ambient
fused
music.
with-
Wow.
Yeah, I think I can objectively say he's the most interesting ambient artist out there. Like super metallic sounding drums, ridiculously slow with like the biggest wobbles you can imagine at like deafening volume. It's so much fun.
Wow. Very cool. So you like you've been kind of leaning leaning slow. Did you prefer loud or quiet, maximal or minimal?
Somehow I like it both loud and minimal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Loud,
it
minimal,
does,
and
you know,
slow. So
the,
doom
the,
metal.
the components
Yeah.
are minimal but impressive in force and nature. They're loud.
Exactly. That's the thing that's what attracted me about a lot of black metal as well. Kind of insane dedication to what they do, although that can be pretty quick. But you know what I mean? Like it's a massive wave of something where the same way that like black metal can cross over with krautrock and like a dedication to a certain sound that undulates through an album or a live set for an album.
Hell yeah. It's definitely when it hits hard, especially in like a club setting when you can have that reverberation, you know. Great question from Archangel. What's your favorite piece of gear?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my Dirty Wave M8. That's been my
I'm sorry.
go-to for so
Dirty
long.
That has
Wave
been
M8.
that has been answered. The Dirty M8.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm glad we said it again because it's his biggest thing that he uses for live performances too.
Yeah, it
So,
doesn't
you
hurt
know
to
it,
hammer
everybody.
that point home, right?
Like,
It's a good
I
product.
made
It's a
mental
company
note
I
of
want
that
to support. So.
What's the company you want to support?
Dirty Wave is like a creator I want to support because like it's all one guy. It's like super in tune with the community. So
Echograms has a great one. Question for Zer0. Any best person you met only online?
I mean, I've been able to like meet a couple of my online peeps in person now, but even though I've now met him like 3 or 4 times, I'd have to go shout out my friend Desert Sand, William.
Very cool. What a sweetie.
We came up at the same time during like in the vaporwave scene, and yeah, he got a hell of a lot bigger than me very quickly. But
He was very well
purely
received,
based
that's for
on-
sure. Did you ever do any of
and-
his album artwork?
I did, yeah. New World Disciples is by me. That's my biggest claim to fame, I think.
Oh, wow.
So the one he released on Needle Juice. That's been actually like unknowingly to most people one of like the most like heavily pressed vinyls in terms of the vaporwave scene, because Needle Juice does not let things go out of print. So
Wow.
that
yeah.
one's been quite.
I
big.
kind of suspected you did
Not
that,
Needle
but
Juice. They released they released the vinyl version of my album or my first album.
Yeah.
It was the Melts, available for purchase.
Yeah,
Today.
I also have an album on there that's selling very
remember.
badly.
Yep,
oh
me too.
damn. Hey,
me too. Terrible.
sometimes
I'm
the very
not exact.
sometimes the very best is the deep cuts, you know.
Totally, I mean,
Wait,
Love Needle Juice, like great guys, great ladies.
oh,
I'm
they're
very proud
so
to be
cool.
part of
I
their
love
roster.
them so much. Such good such good people. So fun to talk to.
But yeah, William has been someone I've talked to. I think coming up in the scene, I used to voice chat with him almost daily.
Oh,
We've got
awesome.
a very tight-knit bunch. So same with Days of Blue. Like spent many hours talking to
Days
him
of
as
Blue
well.
is great.
Like,
Love that one as well.
still love the fact I was able to show up in New York without him expecting me during Summer Slushy.
Ooh, that's great. Yeah, it was great meeting Days of Blue. They were all honestly, that block was really good. I should probably choose a more eloquent word than that, but like the curation of Summer Slushy Fest was really on point. Like there was something for everybody. You know, there was Imcopav and you and Days of Blue and Desert Sand played, I'm pretty sure, right? Or were they at Electronicon? Yeah, Desert Sand played.
Desert
Then they
Sand
had
played,
Daydream Deluxe.
Slushy,
I think I want to say, didn't Christ play the Father 2006 set there, or am I misremembering?
I didn't go, but I do know that Desert played Electronicon the year before that, though. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I my memory really sucks. It's like a thing I'm known for. But anyways, like the curation of that was just on point. I think Discoholic played outside. Just or maybe it was inside. I don't remember. But anyways, got a great question from Quiz. Are there any Vapor homies you'd especially be excited to meet IRL?
Well, like I said, like I've been lucky to meet a lot of them in person. Like I've been able to meet the My Pet Flamingo guys in person. That was a lot of fun as well.
Great bunch of guys.
Tried to think who I've worked with a lot. Like honestly, I'd love to run into Cat System Corp again because we've crossed paths, but we've never met. Like weirdly enough, like I played his hometown Within Noise live set way before vaporwave was a thing.
So I met him he's from the Netherlands, and I met him in LA, and neither of us lives there. You played his hometown? What? That's crazy.
Yeah, back in my noise days, very randomly, he lived in a pretty small town, and he was there with like 2 of his friends. And we were in the same room. He saw me perform, but we never talked. And then we only figured that out when he was considering signing me up for Heroth Records, and he was setting that up. So.
That's awesome. Man,
yeah.
it's
we haven't
so
been
many...
able to meet back up again because he lives in Finland now, and that's quite the flight.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's a little ways. Well, I hope he's doing really well up in Finland.
Yeah.
He's building out a nice little family there. So
yeah.
Well.
He was delightful when I met him, so I wish him absolutely nothing but the best. Hopefully you meet again soon. While we wait on more questions, keep them coming, guys. We talked about how you feel about collabs, and we talked about how I feel about covers and remixes. How do you like covers and remixes? Are you a fan or not so much?
I like a cover to bring something new to the table. I think I have not necessarily a high standard for that, but miss me with just a boring cover that doesn't add anything.
Felt.
But remixes and covers that really fuck with the original, like I'm all for it. Like I love a good weird ass cover. Like change genres, change tempos, change pronouns, whatever you need to make it something fresh in your own.
Hell yeah, I love that. KJ Valium, have you played Balatro?
I have played a good amount of Balatro. I probably would have like 100%ed it by now if I hadn't switched to mobile when the mobile port dropped, and it's like my go-to mobile game now to keep my mind semi-occupied half the time.
I refuse to get into it, but I hear that it's very good.
It's dangerously good.
Dangerously. Echograms, what big goal do you have for this year?
So we did Slushwave last year, and that was pretty huge to bring like an online streaming fest to an in-person event while keeping the whole streaming thing intact. That was quite the tour de force that we pulled off. I would be really happy if we could do it again this year to the same level, because if we do, then there's a lot of opportunities that will open up to make this a recurring solid thing that like has a budget and actually can maybe even fund some cool collabs. So that's one of the big goals for this year, to get Slushwave 2025 going and to make it as epic as last year was.
Sorry. My sound effects are going nuts. I'm sorry. Where will that take place?
In my hometown again. So we were really happy with the venue last year, and I know it's a bit out of the way. I know it's kind of bumfuck nowhere, but it's a really cool venue. I know if anyone's in chat that was there, probably not due to the timing, but it's a great cinema space. It's like the visuals, the audio, it was so incredibly on point. And the main thing is, like, as you probably know from organizing, usually you lose a lot of money and time setting up a venue.
I'm afraid so.
Finding partners. And the thing we have here in town is enthusiastic partners that will give us free technicians, that will give us a free venue, that will let us keep all of the bar proceeds, that will help us.
Awesome.
So.
You better keep them around, buddy. Goddamn.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
You gotta respect that, So that's why it's not in Berlin or in Paris. That's in Kortrijk, a small city in Belgium, but now you know why. And it's really worth visiting. Y'all should drop by.
Kortrijk. Who asked this question? I don't remember. Archangel, do you have a favorite water brand?
I'm a tap water guy, really.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too. Never
Now,
been a
my
bottled
wife's
water
the
guy.
bottled water drinker, and she's been having a hell of a brand that is ethically not compromised. So
Yeah,
that's been our
it's tough.
little journey lately.
Oh. Okay.
Except the brand that they had in New York. I can't remember which one it was, but that one.
Poland Springs.
Poland Springs. Thank you. Yeah, the one that they made a meme of me out of.
Oh yeah.
Great question from Luxury Elite. Do you collect anything? Goose plushies, video games, etc.
Goose plushies. Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've become less of a collector. Like I have a pretty sizable video
too,
game
man.
collection. So I have like all of the Nintendo, all of the common Nintendo consoles, and like
Nice.
30 or 40 games for each.
Very
God.
cool.
Right.
Wow, that's pretty good collection.
I have a
my
couple
God,
of hundred
that's
of
crazy.
cassette tapes.
Oh my God,
Uh,
you have a lot. You do collect a lot.
Yeah, but it's all very organic. Like almost like the cassette tapes and the vinyl were all mainly bought from the source. Like I don't really buy in record shops. I always bought from like distros or bands directly. I was gifted a lot of vinyl from bands going through.
Gotcha.
And then the tapes now is a lot of secondhand. Like I do a lot of flea markets and secondhand
Nice.
tours. So, that's
So
how the
you're not
tapes
like
grow.
constantly hunting. You're not like buying grails, that sort of thing.
No.
Um,
Because if I'm honest, I don't even really play my vinyl much. Like I tend to go to cassette tapes if I want background music, if I'm entertaining. And if I'm working, it's generally like rate your music plus YouTube, and that gets me through. So
Very cool. Well, I'll ask Lux's question in a second. What are some of your favorite video games? I gotta ask because I love video games, so I want to know like top 5
I'm
or 3 if you don't want to list 5.
that's a tough one. Like because I'm very erratic in what I play, so it really changes up every month or so. Like I get really deep into an indie game and then I will just play that for forever. So
Gotcha.
lately it's been Project Zomboid.
Okay.
A lot of Project Zomboid. I think I pulled like at least 500 hours in that in the past
Jesus
couple of months.
God, man.
My God.
I don't think I put 500 hours into anything. That's pretty
I
amazing.
think I had a big stint of Kenshi last year for like a straight month. And I'm starting to get into that again as well. A lot of Balatro, and aside from that,
Nice.
back in the day used to be mainly the classics. Like I played a ton of World of Warcraft back in the day. I played
Very
a ton
cool.
of Warframe ages ago.
Luxury Noise
But,
is a
yeah.
huge World of Warcraft guy. I never got into it. It seems like it's too much stuff going on, too overwhelming. I'm a big Final Fantasy guy.
Yeah, I played 4 on the Super Nintendo. So
Nice.
That's about it.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah,
I'm a
that's
true blue Nintendo
that one's kind of in the
kid,
middle.
though, so that
the hey, you know, no big loss. Everyone has their favorites. Lux has got a great question. What is your on a cassette note, what is your grail item in your collection?
my grail
What's your
item in
favorite?
my collection.
Yeah, like
Yeah, your favorite piece.
either most valuable or like favorite, rarest.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite?
One of each.
I'm really happy with my copy of Plantasia because
Oh,
I
Borg Harson's
had to
Plantasia.
sit through like it being
Very
sold
cool.
out 12 times before I was able to grab
Mhm.
one.
Nice. Talk about
And that one
Nature
just
Wave.
gets played a lot, and it's a fun thing. It's a good tape. It's inclusive. Like it's a good thing for if I have people over as well, to get them slightly more acquainted with the kind of electronic music I'm into. So it's
A
also
good,
very
like,
valuable.
a good gateway drug.
Totally. Aside from that, I'm not really actively looking for tapes. Like if I find, like I said, I mainly buy weird tapes at flea markets. Like I'm looking for text I can't read. Like I picked up some weird like sub-Saharan stuff last
Ooh.
time, just off some random guy's tape collection, and it's like 300 tapes that are just straight up junk commercial stuff of like local Schlager music.
Oh,
And
that's
then
a
you find
Schlager.
two
I've heard about
weird
that.
ass Arab pop albums in there, and that makes your day, you know.
Oh yeah, that's
I-
cool.
I've heard a thing or two about Schlager music. It's apparently like Europe's version of like our bro country,
Really?
or sort of. It's just like that genre
learned
of music
something.
that's just kind of like a
Yeah.
not
I know
so
what you're- I
great.
think I know what you're trying to say.
An
Yeah,
earworm,
this
but not so great.
No. Yeah, I got you. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think there's an analog for that. Like if you take like non-memey bad meme music on TikTok and you turn that into a genre, I think that's the closest thing outside of Europe that's like approximated.
Of
But
what
it's
Schlager
bad.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Love that. Yes,
Love
Lux
it.
Plantasia was the answer for the cassette question. I think she stepped away for just a moment. We got, let's see, who asked this one? Oh, Robin Circle. What do you use to play your cassettes?
I have a very nice refurbished. I have a Technics amplifier that I bought from a local guy that refurbishes amps and tape decks.
Wow.
I'm trying to
Very
remember
nice.
what the tape deck is, but it's also like from the same era. It's like metal, like typical shiny finish, but completely refurbished tape deck. So I got really lucky there.
That's beautiful. That sounds beautiful.
I do love that for you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of that. That sounds like so lovely to just have your cassettes and play them on such a beautiful speaker like that. It's like like when you're entertaining with guests or over, or if you're working around the house. That sounds very relaxing. I would love to have something like that in my house.
Yeah, we have the tape deck hooked up to the same era amplifier into two little JBL bookshelf speakers that are in the big media space that we have where we entertain. So
That's awesome.
it's fun.
I need some
You can
studio
put like a minimal volume and it
speakers
plays super nicely.
and some like
love that.
audiophile equipment like you guys
Yeah, man, I
inevitably
want to
have.
do that too. I wanna get, like, a
I've
whole
just
system
Bluetooth
for my
speakers
cassette tape
and
like that.
I got to
That
do
sounds
better.
fun. And I love to listen to cassette tapes on speakers too. Like, I mean, I'm a big fan of cassette. I love the extra bit of wear. I mean, I've talked about cassettes ad nauseum as to why I like them so much. The extra bit of wear, the organic quality, to the fact that you can't really pick where you want to go on it. I enjoy that layer of destruction that happens with the tape as it gets older. Just makes it more dynamic, makes it more alive. I'd love to listen to it on big speakers. That sounds awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. I'll get into that too. That's what I'm gonna do this week.
Guys, we got about 5 more minutes. Keep those questions coming for this last little bit of hot takes. Zer0, what actor artist have you loved for the longest amount of time?
Oh well, that's a tricky question because I've gone through like so many genres and things.
Maybe like Apex Twin, maybe.
I only got into Aphex Twin super late, so that's
Okay, me
one of
too.
those
I got
things.
into him pretty late too, like mid 2000s
Yeah.
late.
Oh no, I got.
No, I'm talking
You did
last
better than that,
3
huh?
years late.
I did too, because he wasn't always my go-to experimental guy.
Well,
My
you know,
go-to
some of his stuff's a little weird, you know,
Well, I mean,
and it's all over the
has
place.
that ever
It's
stopped me? I mean, it's not the weird. It's just like you have your own kinds of. He's the patron saint for a certain type of person's weird, and a lot of people's types of weird. You know what I mean? Where I gravitated towards like Boards of Canada, more of like
well,
the
me too.
melty.
You know, I found Boards of Canada and then kind of went backwards.
Well, I went to like Boards of Canada and like stuff like that. Or obviously One O Tricks, but I'm trying to get somebody earlier than One O Tricks. I don't know.
I think if I
really
have
into
to
it
pick
now.
something,
It wasn't until recently. Ooh, I'm really into it now.
I think that I've been to it the longest. It's probably Noi, the krautrock band.
Oh, Noi. Yeah, that's another one I got into early. I've been into like that sort of, like krautrock. That.
You know, I've never heard them. I've heard such good things.
You never listened to Noi? Oh, you'll love it. Man.
I know. Just
Little
eyes and
fucking
things.
Certainly heard them
In EU,
because,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a small part of the soundtrack for Kill Bill, which was an interesting way to get into them. They did the soundtrack to the kind of insane, like Japanese-inspired fighting scene in the restaurant that also has the 5, 6, 7, 8s at the start, which is also a great band. So
It's a good movie.
5,
That's
6,
a good
7,
movie.
8s.
I've also been into Melt Banana for forever. Like,
Oh, I
when was
shout out
Oh,
Melt
yeah.
Banana. I got to see
I
them
see
one
Melt
time a
Banana.
while back.
I saw them live back in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Yep, same. No, I'm sorry, late 2000s. Lots of fun. Great
Yeah, I saw
choice.
them live. Yeah, I saw them live with them and Arab on Radar. We're like doing a big show
Oh, you got to
together.
see
wow.
Arab on Radar. Very cool.
Oh,
I'll
I love
never-
Arab on Radar.
I'll never forget how great it was seeing the Locust live.
Oh, I've seen them live multiple times.
Oh.
So they all light up on stage. You know, and
Uh-huh.
the drummers in the center, and everyone's like, "Yeah,
Yep.
yeah."
Rest in
Really,
peace,
that was
Gabe
great.
fucking Serbian, man. Ugh.
Oh, I forgot
That was a
about
hard one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked up
And
like
he never
like
reformed the Locust after that too.
No,
you know,
no.
without the drummer,
can't do
man.
it without
It's not
Gabe
possible.
Serbian, man.
too consequential to the sound of that act. Yeah, that was great. Hearing the Locust for the first time was a big deal for me. That opened me up.
Have you
I'm
seen
really
it like?
sad that like.
I'm sorry. No,
Go
let's
ahead.
let's hear what you had to say.
What are you gonna say? Come on.
No, I'm really sad that I never got to see the Locust in their prime or at all. And like same thing with Sun, I was only able to see them Life Metal tour, which was still transcendental, great, nice and loud. But if I hear the stories about how they used to be, same with the Locust, then that's the kind of life-changing experience that you can't get that easily anymore.
You know what
can't
though? A
get
lot
them
of
that
bands are
easily
coming
anymore. Oh,
back
yeah.
and are just replaying, like Blood Brothers right now is like replaying the entirety
Oh, yeah.
of Burn,
Yeah.
Piano Island Burn or something. You know, Crimes.
It's hard
Maybe
to
I
get
don't
like
know.
an artist performance these days that's like a new thing that's like really changes and open. I guess I don't know what that's like. Who does that nowadays? That people hear for the first time and are like, "Whoa!" I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe a vaporwave artist.
Yeah. All right. I think we got time for just a couple more. If you guys wanna give me some last minute goodies. How important is fan feedback to you?
Fan feedback.
Interesting.
I always appreciate it like a lot because it's some of the energy you feed off of as a musician, I think. I think it's more important to me nowadays because of the music that I'm doing is slightly more commercial, at least to my standards. So since I'm doing more IDME break stuff, which is danceable, then that kind of feedback is something that I need to get from the audience, and that has been fun to get that almost like immediate feedback at live shows to see people dancing and vibing. So that's been interesting. That's been a new energy that
Very
I've
cool.
never gotten before. That's given me a lot of motivation to work on more tracks actually.
Love that for you.
Yeah,
Do you read
definitely.
your rate your music reviews?
Sadly I do, yeah.
It's okay. Hey, some people, man, something you just want to know what people are saying about you, man.
Oh yeah, totally. And then it brings you all the way back down to earth. Sometimes.
Yeah. Don't let them get you down. KJ Valium, I do not know how to pronounce the name of that project, so I will not read it.
I know of them, but I do not know them, sadly.
Oh, you can read
Like
what
I
he said?
I have
Okay.
some weird holes in my discography in terms of
Oh, you think you
music
do,
I've
brother.
listened to.
I can relate. What is your favorite medium? I think you already answered this, but
Yeah.
you said you like tapes, you don't play your vinyls. How do you feel about CDs?
I grew up with CDs, and I have no real affection towards them. They didn't have the flexibility of a floppy in the same way that the cassette tape that you could home dub them to a level that's like acceptable.
I don't
So
like
I fell out
CDs.
of love with them quite quickly.
I don't like CDs. I think they're ugly. And I
Damn,
think
you're
they
missing
break
out.
easily, and they scratch up, and they get dust all over them. And it's not dust in a cute way. It's dust in like on top of silver digital bullshit. Like I don't like them. I don't like it. I'm tired of pretending like I care about CDs. I hate them. I don't want them anymore.
But you can
I didn't
skip
like
the
them. I didn't like them when
skip
I
the
was a
songs
kid.
you
I don't
don't
like
like.
them now. I didn't like them when I liked the tapes
CDs
before.
good.
Before I didn't like when CDs came along. They started snapping. I get like broken fucking pieces of plastic all over my car if I accidentally sit on the fucking case. I don't like CDs. I think they're ugly looking. I think they're tacky. I don't want them. And I'm done. And I've been holding that in
Damn,
for a while.
objectively wrong takes.
I think they're disgusting. They're gross. The worst form of medium. Worst physical medium ever. Give me mini disc, give me cassette tape, give me vinyl, give me anything but CD. It's disgusting.
Bruh.
Anyway,
My,
I don't ever
the
want to have
Discman
another
would
one. I don't
always
ever want
skip
another
as
one.
well.
I don't ever want
so-
another one again. The only thing that was fun about CDs was being able to go to my record store and hunt for CDs. But even that is not enough novelty, and I don't need them anymore in my life. They're disgusting. Gross. Plasticky. And not in a good way.
That's enough hot takes for me. Good night.
You know what? Like, I've been holding that in for a while.
I'm just kidding.
Disgusting.
We
Disgusting
are-
form of medium.
We're
Not
at
making
the
them.
we're at the point of the show where Skeleton Lipstick doesn't need to talk anymore. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. We want to hear your raw, unfiltered, just anything you want to shout out, anything you want to recommend or promote. Name dropping, links. What's going on in the future? You have the floor.
Okay, I released a mixtape of my Arab sampled breakbeat IDM-y stuff not too long ago
Holy
on my
shit.
label Ray Records.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a fun tape. I know it's not for everyone, but I had a lot of fun making it. In general, everything on that label has my like big recommendation sticker on it. It's all like made with love, designed by us. A lot of artwork that I've done, artwork that my wife put together. It would mean a lot to me if you would check out the label. There's free download codes available through the LCM for all of our releases.
Very cool.
Aside from that, we're doing Slush Wave again. It will be from the 28th to the 31st of August in Europe, in Belgium, in my hometown.
Wow. That's a long time.
Well, I maybe I'll go to that. It sounds like a fun reason to go to Belgium.
We had some Americans there last time. The Dab
Unreal.
Wizard was there. So
Who was?
I just pre-ordered my new passport.
Dab Wizard
David,
came out
yeah.
there?
yeah, Dab Wizard was
What?
there.
Oh,
with
that's
his squad.
crazy. Wow. Guy doesn't fuck
Yeah, we had a
around.
very
Good job.
international setup last time. So that's going to be really cool. Would be fun if people could make it down. I think if you ask around in the Discords, there are a couple people that made it, and I think everyone had a lot of fun. We're doing the big streaming hybrid festival in the cinema room again, and then we're doing Nature Wave afterwards. We're gonna do some side events, some cinema possibly that we need to check out if we can do that. Some kino.
Nice. Some keynote,
Aside
yeah.
from that, I think that's the main things to plug. Check out Ray Records. If you need me to do artwork for you, I have commission slots available. I am very flexible with my pricing. I have art prints on my website. I think I'm gonna do t-shirts soon, but I need to find someone to help design them with me. So, yeah, if you're good at designing t-shirts, drop into my DMs, I guess. I think
Real
that's
quick,
everything. It's 2 a.m.
It's 2 in the morning.
Not
I
like the
forgot how
sharpest.
much later it is in Belgium, right? Well, we gotta let him go to bed, man.
Yeah.
I forgot
Before we
morning in Belgium.
wrap up,
okay.
MP3
we gotta wrap
Neptune.
this up, Fred, so we can let him
Yeah.
go to bed.
MP3 Neptune wanted to let you know thank you for releasing Deep Linking. It was their very first album ever, and seeing it on tape in person was truly very emotional for them,
Oh.
and they wanted to let you know that they appreciate you.
Big deal.
It's a great album, and you were and still are a blast to work with. I would love to do more releases for you, but you know the market and like the scene is what it is. But we're very happy to have you on the roster.
Shout out
All right.
MP3 Neptune and Zer0 Rei. Thank you guys for tuning in for a very special guest tonight. Skelly, what do you got going on coming up?
The end of the month, January 31st, is the big party at Underground Arts, which is called
Awesome.
Salvation. It's a 2-room goth party that we have. Room 1 is traditional goth 90s 80s stuff, and then the other room, and that's room that I'll be DJing in, is going to be the Witch House dark synth bonk room. So it's going to be at Underground Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, January 31st from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Buy tickets online. It'll be really fun.
Shout
Yeah,
out
bring
Lux
some
for
ladies.
posting the dice link.
Heyo, thank you. I'm gonna bring some of my new lights. I just bought a bunch of lights too, so I'm gonna probably see if I can figure out how to program those by then. I bought this AI box called Maestro, which like you can connect your iPad to the local server for it, and you can control lighting patterns from that using this thing. So I'm pretty excited to figure out how to do that. I kind of figured out how to do that for that vaporwave show where I had the lights, but I was very basic. I'm hoping to get a little bit better by the very first. Anyway, and then aside from that, Death Romantic is out right now. I think you can listen to it online. And live
Hardcore.
performances coming up. I got a new member of Skeleton Lipstick now, my buddy Anissa. She's going to be playing synthesizers as well. I got a little bass guitar
Huge.
that I'll be doing. And so we'll be doing some live Skeleton
Huge.
Lipstick performances soon with a band. All right.
I love that, man. I did a set for Foo Fest. The reason we didn't do the show last week is Foo Fest happened. So I did a 20-minute Cloud Rap and Vapor Trap set that is up on my SoundCloud and YouTube with visuals courtesy of Saturn Foo. Shout out Saturn Foo for putting on the live stream event, and Indie Advent for coming in last minute and helping save the stream. Very proud of that. Also did another DJ set that is escaping me, but I'll be working on some new ones here kind of pretty soon. Lost Traveler is going to have a live stream and IRL event in, I believe you said early March, from Peru. So there's going to be like a live aspect of it, kind of like Vaporwave Live was. So I'll be putting together something for that. Haven't really started yet. Don't really know what it's going to be. But I just got that XDJ AZ, so I'm very excited. Yes, thank you, Lux. I did a set for Vaporwave. I can't remember anything. Indie Advent and Utopia District put on Vaporwave, and I put out a 30-minute Neo R&B DJ set that I was immensely proud of and really waited a long time to have it drop. And people who listened and tuned in seemed very impressed with it. Dreaming Diary did some of my favorite visuals that I've ever seen for the set. So if you like How to Dress Well or Active Child or Magic Fades or Supreme Cuts, check out my Vaporwave set and watch the visualizer by Dreaming Diary. He really understood the assignment.
Did Lux post the link for that in the chat?
Oh, she did. Thank you, Lux, for reminding me. She's got a great head on her shoulders, unlike myself. There also is a... did I get the okay to talk about this? Let me check and see. Another live stream event that I'm going to be kind of working on here pretty soon. Nobody said anything about it. You know what? I'm not gonna say it because I don't know for sure. But another member of the community is putting together something that'll be in the summer. So, and then Nostalgia Lounge, Sanctuary Live. We're gonna run back that ad after this. March 29th in Columbus, Ohio, at Cafe Bourbon Street. I will be playing. Don't know how long I'll be playing, but I'll be playing some breakcore. Haven't played breakcore live yet. I'm very fucking excited. It's gonna be bombastic. It's gonna be brutal, and we're gonna raise money for trans people. I'm going to be alongside Fiji, Imcopav, KJ Valium, and some other great people who I just am not remembering right now because that's what I do. I forget people. Of Crystal Eternal, of course. Luxury Noise will be there. Yeah, it'll be great. It's going to be great. Come out to Sanctuary Live in Columbus, Ohio, March 29th at Cafe Bourbon Street. $10 for Trans Ohio. That's it. So thank you guys for being here, whether you tuned in tonight for the first time to see Zer0 Rei or you are a regular. And don't forget, you can donate if the spirit moves you. You can jump in our Discord server. You can check out our Spotify playlist, including a new sign-off themes playlist curated just for us by Luxury Elite. Check it out. You can check out our Hot Takes Volume 1 comp, Vaporwave Live, the entire broadcast, and you can even get a shirt, too, if the spirit moves you, or just follow us on social media. Have a wonderful night, everybody, and meet us here at the same time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do another early one. In 2 weeks, that's Monday, January 20, for Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night. Thanks for tuning in to Hot Takes. Have a good night.